Wizard's First Rule by Terry Goodkind. So I've always bought new books. Don't ask me why. I always like the look of, nice, fresh, crisp book. But as I've gotten older, I've enjoyed buying more second-hand books, pre-loved, pre-owned. This being one of them. You can see the spine is really worn. But I like that. It's been around the bush a few times. Okay, so a few things about this novel. It is an epic fantasy. It's huge. I honestly don't know how long the series goes for. I think it's 11 or 12 books, but then I read that it's 15, and then I read that it's 20 because there's prequels, and then Terry Goodkind essentially kept adding on. So I think it's 11 to 12 books long, but don't quote me on that, please look it up. On Goodreads it got 4.12. It's what I'm currently reading at the moment. You can see the bookmarks in that. It's about a guy called Richard. Not the most fantasy name, but Richard. He is, well, I'll tell you what he is, even though I don't think they allude to it on the back. He's a seeker. Actually, like I did last time, let's read the blurb and then we'll go from there. Since the sundering of the land into 3 disparate nations, Westland has remained resolutely free of the taint of sorcery, leaving its people to lead their lives unmolested by magic. Until, that is, the discovery of torn and twisted corpse of Richard Cypher's father marks the beginning of the fulfillment of an age-old prophecy. Now the time has come to accept that magic, in all its myriad forms, is inherent in the land and its people, that it cannot be ignored if the people are to survive. Only Richard has the power to confront the evil that is about to break through its underworld boundaries. For his is a unique inheritance that provides him the seeker, that proves him the seeker, the rightful wielder of the sword of truth. Okay, so they do say that he's the seeker. There's more on the blurb, but I won't go on. Basically, so far of what I've learned, the land is broken up into 3 sections. There's the non-magical section, where a boundary basically blocks them off from the rest of the magic. And then there was the Midlands, or there is the Midlands and another section. Now the Midlands is good people that have magic in their lives. There's the non-magical area where Richard's from. And then there's the third area where the bad guy Darken Rule is from. Richard's goal as the Seeker, along with this wizard called Zed, and what's her name? And then Kalan, this girl who is a confessor. She has magical powers where she can take people's confession to find out if they're guilty or not, but it basically destroys them and makes them her slave. But she is a good person. Same with Richard and same with Zed. It's epic fantasy. There's magic. There's dragons, although there's only been a small sighting of a dragon so far. There's swords. Richard has the sword of truth and he becomes like a badass sword fighter with it. And yeah, there's lots of different creatures and stuff, but I haven't come into contact with too many of them yet. What I'm enjoying about it is it's got good world building. The characters are fun. They're a little bit not naive, but it's like predictable in parts. It's kind of like a fairy tale where things are happening where you'd love it to almost go another way. Like it's too obvious. The obvious is happening a bit, but I'm enjoying it. Fun thing is, I originally read book 8 or 7, not knowing it was book 8 or 7. I basically started reading this book, thought it was the hardest thing to understand the characters and what was going on, and then when I finally finished it, I was like, oh, that was a pretty good book. I went to get the next one and found out I read the wrong one, so I put it down for like 15 years and have come back to it. But look it up on Goodreads, 4.12. It's pretty good. Wait fantasies like Game of Thrones, that could be for you. Next we have Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan. Now, I don't have too much in my brain of what happened in this book. I read it, I enjoyed it. I read his next series. But yeah, as I say, I'm not great at remembering what happens. I'll read the blurb and then I'll tell you what I really liked about this from what I remember. It's a bloody business overthrowing a king, but amid the chaos, a whispered rumour is spreading. A rumour of a broken promise, omens of death, and the gods returning to walk the earth. Surely nobody really believes those old legends. Perhaps they should. Okay, what's really cool about this book? I've never encountered it in another book before, but in this, gunpowder gives them magical powers, gives them extra speed, strength, accuracy, all of that. So to get those powers, they consume gunpowder, they eat it, they swallow it, and only a few can do it, and it gives them these powers. They can also, so I say they, I'll tell you who. Tennille, he is the main character. He is a, what do they call it? A powder mage, that's right, they're called powder mages. And they, can consume gunpowder, which is, to me, is so weird, but so wonderful, something unique. They can also ignite it from far away, so they could be like 200 meters away on the battlefield or more, and they can ignite any gunpowder. They can feel that it's there and ignite it, which is super different. The whole premise of this is that the army, if I remember correctly, is kind of broken in two, and there's the castaways, but they're fighting for good, and there's a god that turns up, who's literally got like the most powerful being ever, and then Tennille has to fight him, and yeah, it's a trilogy. It's not like the other series with heaps of books, but look, just look it up on Goodreads. It gets 4.14. I don't know, I liked it. Brian McClellan. I don't have too much to say, just that it's pretty unique with the way it's gone about the whole powder mage thing. I read this maybe 8 years ago. It's been a while, so apologies for not remembering everything. That's why I'm like, these are suggestions. There's only so much I remember. See how new it looks. I've read it once. It looks brand new. So the next one, let's give you this one. Good focus. So this is called Iron by Miles Cameron. This is Miles Cameron's second series. His first series goes for about 4 or 5 books. I really enjoyed it. There were dragons and such, but I felt like in this series he's really grown as a writer. You connect more to his characters. It really clicks. The other one, I suggested his other series. I can't remember the name to my friend, and he wasn't a fan, but he read this and agreed he loved it. Iron can be forged into steel, and only steel will survive what is to come. Arantha is a student. He worries about his grades, his work, his parents, and about going home for the holidays, until one evening his entire life changed, altering his expectations, his goals, and his fears along with it. In a world where assumptions are collapsing and old comforts are being lost, Arantha is looking for answers. Only whatever he does, he seems to be the centre of a web This is an accomplished new fantasy series driven by strong characters and fast-paced action. So this got 4.05 on Goodreads. I think anything above 4 is worth looking into at the least. Basically, what I like about this book, it's pretty skinny. It's 400 pages long, so it's a lot more approachable to some fantasy series. As the back said, it's really character driven. Aranfa is... So he starts young and goes through the school system. He starts quite poor. He is learning alchemy, how to be a mage. Although they don't talk about the magic too much at the start. He becomes a leather worker. That's how he kind of earns money. But I swear he's also into fencing and becomes an accomplished sword fighter as well, or fencer. So a lot of things happen to him, and he becomes quite powerful, I would say, relatively quickly. It's kind of one of those things where it's like he starts from the bottom, all of a sudden he's like the hero. But it works. I think I said in my last video, I love when people are in their schooling phase and kind of level up. It's really good. There's some other characters in this. I wonder if I wrote down their names. No, I didn't. Actually, no. I'm lying. I'm pretty sure it just follows him the whole way, which is cool. Because you're never wondering like, oh, I just want to get back to that character. It follows around for the whole time, if I remember correctly. I used to work at a bookshop in London, and I regret it at the time, but there was a person that I was trying to talk into buying this, and they weren't going to buy it, and I ran after them to pay for the book, to just give it to them. This random, I wasn't trying to hit on them, but my boss ended up chatting to me, and then I missed them. But I think random acts of kindness are great, so if you ever see someone and you think, I want to buy them that book, just do it. I've done it before in a bookshop, when I was travelling, and just gave it to a stranger and walked away and never spoke to them again. I think random acts of kindness are beautiful. But look up Cold Iron. It's good fun. And on the front it says, utterly, utterly brilliant by John Gwynne. Well, that was his review, and I reviewed John Gwynne last time. Incredible, incredible author. Love all his series, they just keep getting better. So if he says it's good, it's worth looking up. Cold Iron, Miles Cameron. Okay, maybe I have something else I can add to this next one other than saying to read it. Shadow Prowler. I love this cover, by the way. Shadow Prowler by Alexei Piaf. So I've read this twice. It's a Russian author. It's been adapted to English. I've read online that the adaptation is not as good as the original Russian writing, that it doesn't fully translate across, and that some of the characters' names were not kept as their original, and they did an injustice with that. This gets 3.98 on Goodreads, 0.02 off of getting to 4, but I still recommend it. After centuries of calm, the Nameless One is stirring. An army is gathering. Thousands of fell creatures joining forces from all across the desolate lands, united for the first time in history under one black banner. By the spring, or perhaps sooner, the Nameless One and his forces will be at the walls of the great city of Avendum, unless Shadow Harold, Master Thief, can stop them. And then they just say it's epic fantasy at its best, blah 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 blah. What else do they say? Bound by oath to fulfill his commission, even if he dies trying, Harold is accompanied by an elfin princess and her escort, 10 wild hearts, the most dangerous fighters in the world, and by the king's court jester, follows him the whole way. He is a thief. He is one of those guys that feels like every wrong thing happens to him, and it's pretty funny the way he talks to you as the reader and to himself. I would say that traditional fantasy where it has elves and dwarves and goblins and it encompasses all those fantastical creatures. His mission is to recover I think it's called the Rainbow Horn, and that's by going on this epic quest to get to this dungeon that's many levels, and only he can access the dungeon because he has the map and the skills to get through it. That's why he's hired. And he basically, the way he gets hired is he gets caught, I believe, stealing or some such, and then they force him off on this quest. It's kind of like, well, it's not like Game of Thrones, but in the way that George R. R. Martin writes, where he kills characters off, you're gonna lose some favourites in this. It's sad, but that happens on these epic quests. I would recommend this for anyone that they don't want anything that's too different. It's very classical. There's a bad guy. Later he called the Nameless One. Band of heroes band together to go and save the world on an epic quest, but it's just fun. There's some good comedy. It's nice and dark, and the fact I've read it twice should be reason enough to look it up online. Shadow Prowler. The next one will be a lot more well known, and some of you might have seen it already. Sorry, you might have read it already, but also seen it on bookshelves. Peter V. Brett, The Painted Man. So this is a quintet. I think it should be 5 books. Of course, this is the first one. It doesn't have them all. I'm confident it's 5 books. It revolves around multiple characters. The main one being Arlen Bales. Well, he's the painted man, and then there's other ones, including Roger, who's a musician, Roger Halfgrim, and Leisha, what's her name? Leisha Paper. She's a herbalist. So this one gets 4.25 on Goodreads. Solid rating. There's a lot of action. It starts off with, as usual, I'll read the back first. As darkness falls, the demons rise. For hundreds of years, these creatures have terrorized the night, slowly culling the human population. It was not always this way. Men and women did not always cower behind protective magical wards and hoped to see the dawn. Once, they battled the demons on equal terms, but those days and skills are gone. Arlen Bales lives with his parents on their isolated farmstead until a demon attack shatters their world. He learns a savage lesson that day that people, as well as magic, can let you down. Rejecting the fear that kills as efficiently as the creatures, Arlen risks another path in order to offer humanity a last, fleeting chance of survival. So in this, as it says, the demons are the bad guys. The demons come out at night, they come out of the ground, and if their homes aren't warded, the demons can get them and attack them. The demons come in different forms. There's rock demons, wind demons, all sorts, and they describe them well. One's based off on dogs, small, they're huge. The rock demons can be like 15 feet tall. And so no one ever travels at night, except Arlen starts to. After something happens with his parents, he becomes a messenger. And so he's gallivanting all around the country at a very young age. And in order to survive, you can, if you don't have a building or somewhere to hide in for the night that's warded, you can goes from messenger to other things and becomes a warrior. It's really good. It's really worth looking into if you like a lot of action, some cool characters, and yeah, the demons are a little bit different. Look it up. Some people got a bit bored of this as the series went on. I did in a way, but I still got through it and enjoyed it, so 4.25 on Goodreads. Okay, I'm gonna finish with one more book. I read this maybe 15 years ago, 16 years ago, a long time. I'm trying to think how old I am. It's Sasha by Joel Shepherd. So this book is a quartet, there's 4. The main character is Sasha. She is a princess and a badass warrior. There's some other characters, I think it follows 2 or 3 if I remember correctly. It's gonna be hard to find. I don't really see this on shelves ever. No. It's an Australian author, so it might be tough to find. This gets 3.89 on Goodreads, so that's not top tier, but it's not terrible. So basically, Sasha gives up her title as a princess to train as a warrior. What I remember about this is there's these people, don't quote me on it, I can't remember if they're elves or if they're like elves, where their sword style is very flowy. They flow from one form to the other. It's a beautiful style and they are the best swords, men and women in the world. And then there's like the standard hack and slash choppy style of the humans or the other race. What's unique about Sasha is she's trained in both forms, and I don't want to give too much away, but she basically merges one form into the other, and it makes her this absolute warrior goddess. There's another guy in this that's, I think, a love interest. God, I cannot remember anything. And he's a master bowman, and I remember them having a really cool relationship, and it worked pretty well, and he was a fun character, and it may follow him in parts. Oh, I just opened a page and I'm wondering if his name's Darren. He just happens to be on that. But yeah, I don't have much to say, just as a random book that not many people have heard of, look up Sasha by Joel Shepherd. I'm gonna have to start doing these videos right after I finish a book so I actually remember stuff. My bookshelves are adorned with hundreds and hundreds of books, and my memory is not adorned with hundreds and hundreds of memories of them. If you have a favourite fantasy series, or even if you're not a fantasy fan, but you love reading, put in the comments your favourite series or the last book you read. Something that I should read maybe. I'd love to know. I'm always looking for new suggestions. I can't get enough of new suggestions. And you'll see that for a book that's 16 years old or whatever, looks brand new. Obsessed. I could keep going, I've got one more book here, but actually I'm just going to throw it up, but I'm going to talk about it next time. I'll just give you a little glimpse. The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. Very much like Brandon Sanderson, Robert Jordan, epic fantasy, so good. Really cool cover as well, but I'm not going to talk about that I can talk about next time. It's a trilogy though, you can look it up, it's amazing. Hello everyone and welcome starting with The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. So, I mentioned him briefly at the end of my last fantasy book suggestions video. I thought I'd go into a little bit more detail. As usual, guys, this is going to be suggestions, not so much reviews, because a lot of what I'm going to be talking about I haven't read in years and years, so I don't remember everything about it. But I will read the back. I'll tell you what I know, how they compare to other books, where they are in my rankings. And yeah, so we'll start with this. It got 4.14 on Goodreads. As I always say, anything above a 4 is really good. If it's a high 3, it's definitely still worth reading. Let's start with the back of the book. As destiny calls, a journey begins. As one of the gifted, Davian is despised for the magic he wields, suffering the consequences of a war lost before he was even born. Yet when he discovers he possesses an ancient, forbidden power, a power that once forged empires, he sets in motion a chain of events that will change everything. To the west, a young man, whose fate is intertwined with Davian's, wakes up in the forest, covered in blood and with no memory of who he is. And in the far north, an ancient enemy long thought defeated begins to stir. So, epic fantasy, 100%. There's multiple characters. It's huge. They said on the back, but I totally agree. Think Robert Jordan, Brandon Sanderson. It's in that wheelhouse. There's 3 books in this series, so it's not going to the lengths of something like The Wheel of Time. I read the 3rd book and I'm trying to think if it definitely finished there. Yeah, it's a trilogy, the Lacanius trilogy. I really enjoyed this, but read them all together. I had a break between 2 and 3, and it took me a bit to remember the characters. The young man whose fate is intertwined with Davian's I really liked. I'm mental blanking on his name. But it's also definitely one of the characters I forgot about for a minute when I had a break from books. As there's different tangents. Basically, magic is seen as evil, and then there's, so, as it mentions here with the gifted, they are like a band, but then there's augurs, which are an ancient level of magician that has been unheard of until maybe recently. Look it up. Amazing Goodreads review. And I also just love the cover. Okay, next. So I talked about the 4th wing in my first video. Or was it second? I think it was first. Now we're on to the second one, Iron Flame. So this is... Sorry, my laptop's making noise. So this is by Rebecca Yarros. The 4th wing, if you haven't heard of it, which you probably should have by now because it's blown up everywhere on TikTok, etc., was kind of made famous by BookTok. It follows the character of Violet Sorrengail. I'll read the back of this and then I'll tell you how I thought this differed to the 4th wing and what I liked more. She survived her first year at Basgiath War College, but the danger is just beginning. Everyone expected Violet Sorrengail Vice Commandant, who's made it his personal mission to teach Violet exactly how powerless she is, unless she betrays the man she loves. Although Violet's body might be weaker and frailer than everyone else's, she still has her wits and a will of iron, and leadership is forgetting the most important lesson Basquiat has taught her. Dragon riders make their own rules. But a determination to survive won't be enough this year, because Violet knows the real secret hidden for centuries at Basquiat War College, and nothing, not even dragonfire, may be enough to save them in the end. So, I had a lot to say about the fourth wing. I thought it was amazing. It's written fairly basically. It's not gonna win some literature prize, but it's written in a fun way. You read it really quickly, you want to know what's going on, the characters are great, the action's really good. How did this differ? There's still plenty of action going on. There were more raunchy scenes between Violet and her boyfriend. Why am I having a mental blank on his name? God. Zayden. It did not say that in the book, I remembered. Zayden. That's his name. And I'm sticking with it until I'm wrong. Anyway, there's a lot of raunchy scenes between them. I thought it was more than I needed. I just, like, if someone's in love, if there's a sex scene, whatever, cool. We don't need it throughout the book. But anyway, I'm sure other people are screaming at the camera saying, no, we need it. But it was good action. I can't wait to the third book. And it just follows her, so first person kind of point of view. Pretty sure it's that. So you'll never have chapters where you're like, what's happening with Violet? Because you're following her the whole time. This gets 4.4 on Goodreads, and that was off like 400,000 reviews. Like, those Goodreads reviewers on this series, they're looking after it. So that's number 2. Number 3, I have not read in over 15 years, I think. Now this is my copy that I've had that whole time. And just look at that condition, guys. My God, there's not one mark on the seam, not one crease. That's mint. That is mint. I pride myself on how well I look after my books. This is mint. So this is, Magician, as you would have just seen, by Raymond E. Feist, or Feist, however you want to say it. This is a trilogy that I don't remember much about. What I do remember is when I read it, it was in my top 3 series, along with The Wheel of Time and Harry Potter. So that is some big competition. I really, really enjoyed this series. I remember nothing. So let's read the back together. But I suggest you looking up this series. I'm gonna reread it. Hopefully this year. I have such a pile of books I need to get through, but I do remember loving it. It's 4.31 on Goodreads, which is insane. That's so good. Okay. Raymond E. Feast or Feist? We're gonna go Feist. Please tell me if I'm wrong. Classic fantasy epic magician. Best enchanted readers, blah blah blah. Let's get to the blurb. At Cryde, a frontier outpost in the tranquil kingdom of the Isles, an orphan boy Pug is apprenticed to a master magician because it's published through Amazon. This is Rise of the Ranger by Philip C. Quaintrell. Now above me, you've got those three there, and then up here, which you can't see, is more from this series. This is a 9-book series. It's really, really big. The Echo Saga. However, it's written in 3 trilogies, I believe. No, it just says 9. It is a 9-book series, but it's still, like, at the end of each 3 books, things change, so there is, you can always take a break, I guess, if you want, between each 3 books. This was amazing, and I love that cover art. So he is, published just through Amazon. It says on his pages over 100,000 purchases made of his books. And that, if you buy your book, he's supporting him, stay and all that, and offer, blah blah blah. It gets 4.22 on Goodreads. I really liked it. I didn't go into detail on Magician, but it follows a few characters, and this is kind of along that epic fantasy line. It follows multiple characters, with Asher being the Ranger, and my favourite character, but there are some other great characters too. Let's read the back. The first in a brand new saga from Philip C. Quaintrell. The echoes of fate, a prophecy uttered unto the world 1,000 years ago, cannot be denied. Mankind has lorded over the land of Ilion for 1,000 years, enjoying what was left to them by the elves, as if it were their birthright. 1,000 years is a long time for an immortal race to see the error of their ways and realize a truth that has remained unsaid for a millennia. Elves are superior. They are faster, stronger, and connected to the magical world in a way that man could never grasp. Ilion is their birthright. The 6 kingdoms of man are fractured, unallied, and always clawing at each other's doors for more power. War is coming. Thrown into the heart of this war is an outlander of the wilds, an assassin, a ranger. Asher was born 1,000 years ago, but he doesn't remember. 40 years of brutal training and killing for money has beaten the earliest years of his life away, leaving his ties to the oldest of evils, a mystery of all. I've just got to pause the video, I'm getting a call. 1 second, guys. I put my phone on silent and I still get phone calls, or I notice. Anyway, Rise of the Ranger follows multiple characters. Epic fantasy, as far as I'm concerned, it's definitely fantasy, but I count it as epic fantasy. There's a lot going on. Really, really good action. I liked most of the characters. For instance, let's just grab this one. See what characters' names are mentioned on the back. Yeah, Gideon Thorne, Elijah Galfrey. Like, each book is gonna have more characters, but not too many more. Like, it's not a stupid amount of characters and you're gonna forget. But each cover has like a different person. So, like, on this cover it mentions Asher again. So, same character. This is book 3. So you get like a lot of Asher in book 3, and then 1, 2, and 3, and then I don't want to give anything away. He might appear in other books, but each 3 books there's other main characters, and there's some time jumps. It goes forward an amount of years. Children from the characters are there in the future. But look it up. I'll put a link on YouTube. There is a link. It is affiliated, but I don't care at all heard the sound of their weapons clash and the noises men made when they died. But he had never heard the sounds that drifted through the open window now, carried in the wake of 100 war horns. When the elves went into the battle, it could not be called a conflict or a skirmish, as it was with the human tribes, but was in fact given another name, for that was new to Asher. The elves called it a war. Check it out. Put you there. Okay, next. It's been around for a little bit. It won the Borealis Award. You've probably heard of it. Many of you might have read it. What a beautiful cover. Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. On Goodreads 4.23 with some really good scores here guys, 4.23. What have I done to it? That's terrible. Can you see that? Come on. Look at that dirt. Not good. If you can see that. Very unlike me. No graces in the cover. But yeah. So, never know. What do I remember? What do I forget? We'll read the back and go from there. Here we go with some name pronunciations. Mia Corvia. Okay. Mia Corvia is only 10 years old when she is given her first lesson in death. Destined to destroy empires, the child raised in shadows made a promise on the day she lost everything, to avenge herself on those that shattered her world. But the chance to strike against such powerful enemies will be fleeting, and Mia must become a weapon without equal. Before she seeks vengeance, she must seek training among the infamous assassins of the Red Church of Betrayer. Inside the church's halls, Mia must prove herself against the deadliest of opponents and survive the tutelage of murderers, liars, and daemons at the heart of a murder cult. I said daemons because it's spelled D-A-E-M-O-N-S. The church is no ordinary school, but Mia is no ordinary student. So, girl boss, trained assassin, small orphan. Does it say she's an orphan? I swear she is anyway. Aren't they always? Fantasy books, how many orphans are there, right? Someone's lost their family, blah blah blah. Really, really, really brutal, amazing action. Some really good characters. Never flinch, never fear, never forget. So I reviewed Jay Kristoff's Empire of the Vampire in Fantasy Book Review, Book Suggestions 1, pretty sure, which I adored. I actually probably like that more than this. However, I think many people will say this is number 1. I really liked book 1 and 2, and unfortunately there was such a gap between me reading book 2 and 3 that when I started reading book 3 I just couldn't fully immerse myself back into the series. I don't know why. I felt like in book 3 there was the heart had fallen out of the book or something. Like it was so, I don't know if it was dark, but my connection with Mia was lessened. But when I read this, I remember thinking this is one of the top tier books that I've read. So don't let my reading of book 3 put you off. With 4.23 on Goodreads, is really good. Look up reviews. It comes under a different cover in America. And maybe elsewhere as well, because I bought book 2 when I was travelling the US. And I can literally picture it right now I was in Austin, Texas. And yeah, unfortunately book 2 is a different cover for me. But never know, it's good. It's amazing action. Girl boss character. Because so far, male character, female character, male character, nice to mix it up, different point of view. If you want more female characters, then try Never Night. Suggestion, not review. Just so I don't look like an idiot. If you talk to me after I've just read a book, God, the detail I can go into. But if I haven't just read it, then we are useless here, guys. Okay, so this is Malice by John Gwynne. Again, this might have been the first fantasy suggestions video. I talked about Shadow of the Gods, which is his third series, and I adored it and loved it. It was amazing. This is his, I think, first ever written series. This is The Faithful and the Fallen. That's the series. Pretty sure it's his first book. Let's have a look-see. Yeah, books by John Gwynne. Just the one that written in 2012 or 13. So this is by Orbit. We haven't talked about publishers. Do any of you have a favourite publisher so far? We've talked about books from Harper Voyager, Piacticus, never heard of it, Orbit, and an Amazon published book. I love Orbit. I think some of the most epic fantasy comes from Orbit. But there's other ones out there. Pan, we got Pan behind me. JF, whoever they are, sorry. There's always lots of Harper Voyager, which used to be HarperCollins, Titan Books, and whatever. But yeah, I love Orbit. Anyway, back on track. Sorry, distracted. Malice. 4-book series. Big fantasy, lots of battles, lots of good fights. Let's read it. The world is broken. Corbin wants nothing more than to be a warrior under King Brennan's rule, to protect and serve. But that day will come all too soon, and the price he pays will be in blood. Evnus has sacrificed too much, it seems, but what he wants, the power to rule, will soon be in his grasp, and nothing will stop him once he has started on his path. Veratus is the newest member of the warband for the High Prince, Nether. He is one of the most skilled swordsmen to come out of his homeland, yet he is always under the shadow of his older brother. Nether has ideas and a lot of plans. Many of them don't involve his father, the High King Aquilus, nor does he agree with his father's idea to summon his fellow kings to the council. The banished lands has a violent past where armies of men and giants clashed in battle, but now giants stir in new stones weep blood, and there are sightings of giant worms. Those who can still read the signs see a threat far greater than the ancient wars. For if the Black Sun gains ascendancy, mankind's hopes and dreams will fall to dust, and it can never be made whole again. That's just like a big thing. John Gwynne hits all the right spots in his epic tale of good versus evil. That's exactly it. It's good versus evil. Some big characters. Corbin is the one that you follow at the start. I'm trying to think who his father is. Essentially, young boy that gets bullied and then gets trained in fighting. Classic. I swear to God, every fantasy starts with a young boy who then becomes like an amazing warrior. And yet, I love that nostalgic style of fantasy. That's why this is your old school good versus evil fantasy, and it's why I enjoyed it. Some great characters, as I said, good fights, and some good bad guys. Like, you bloody favourite trigger on a book? Is it page scratching? Is it just the whispering? Is it the tapping? I like all of it. Alright, some bonus book, and then we're done. This is a bonus book because no one's gonna know it. And you know how I know that? Because one of my customers at work wrote it, and it's brand new. Flame of Shadow and Deception by C.H. Groot or Pink. Don't let the cover for okay, Courtney, if you watch this, don't let the cover fool you guys. It's not, I wouldn't say it's the best cover I've ever seen. She's a brand new author. You know, if you were to put it next to something with an amazing graphic. But for self-published, it's a pretty good cover. I was skeptical about this book because the customer wrote it. It's her first book. I don't know what to think. I bought it to support her, but I actually enjoyed it. Surprisingly, it sounds bad that I didn't have faith, but it's a new author. You don't know someone that lives locally to you what to think of their book, but it's really good. It has a massive blurb on the back, so I'm just gonna quickly read through some of this, but this is more just look it up on Amazon, see if it sounds like something you'd enjoy. It's an option. There's no Goodreads rating because no one's reviewed it. There is only one righteous entity to whom all worship in the kingdom of Dana, the goddess Althea, the bringer of life and courier of death. Only those who have devoted themselves entirely to her divine cause are gifted with the ability to use magic. All other sources of magic is strictly forbidden, a crime against her name, and ever waits all who claim otherwise. Lyra is masking a deep secret behind her fire-infused eyes and bandaged hand. Blah blah blah. A sudden chain of traumatic events shatter Lyra's perspective on the world, leaving her questioning everything and forcing to seek answers far from her home. When Kaysen, a male shrouded in mystery, makes himself known to her, bearing the same forbidden mark on his hand, Lyra finds the coincidence hard to ignore. So it's about her having magic. Magic being essentially outlawed, but not in another part of the world, which Kaysen is from. And there's different gods or goddesses or whatever, in a way vying for power or worshipped in different parts of the world. I'm trying to think if it's all from her perspective. No, there's not. It's not. There is some other perspective. She's the main character though. But I don't what to say about this book because there's no other reviews. I love to read blurbs on books now still what other people have said about a book to help describe it because I'm not always good with that. This book just keeps getting better by the end of the book. You're like, I need the next book now. I'm actually addicted. It's actually good. Like it is. She's done well. She deserves more people reading it. Is it the best book I've read in the last year? No. You know, I think authors, some are lucky enough that their first book, they're just incredible. Others will slowly polish their writing and get better. Especially when you're self-published and I don't know if she had an editor for this or what. But she still did well. So shout out to a local author who's brand new on the scene. It's a grower, much like a CD, just keep going with it. You'll get better. I enjoyed some of the magic use cases. It was somewhat unique. Yeah, it worked pretty well. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So today I've decided to do another book suggestions video, starting with Six of Crows by Lee Bardugo. So this was suggested to me quite a while ago now by my friend Beatrice. Shout out to her in Portugal. This is a 2-book series, which I adore. There's not enough of those. It's refreshing. It's nice to not be slugging away at a massive series or even a trilogy. Sometimes you want a 2-book series. As usual, this is a book suggestions video, not reviews. Why is that? If you've already watched my other videos, you'll know that I'm really bad at remembering all the plot lines and characters, and I just have more an idea in the back of my head of what I thought of each book. I will give you the Goodreads scores out of 5. I will read the blurb. We can get to know a little bit about the book, and then you can put a bit more research into it and see if it's something you would like to buy or not. Okay, so Six of Crows. This gets 4.49 on Goodreads. That is super high. I read anything above a 4. If it's in the 3.6 to 4 category, I really need to be gripped by the blurb, or I need someone to suggest it to me. I don't normally want to risk, say, a 3.6 because I buy all my books. Let's read the back of this one. Criminal prodigy Kaz Bareka has been offered a chance at a deadly heist. Break into the ice court, a military stronghold that has never been breached, and retrieve a hostage whose knowledge could change Grisha magic forever. To succeed would mean riches beyond Kaz's wildest dreams, but he can't pull it off alone. A convict with a thirst for revenge, a sharpshooter who can't walk away from a wager, a runaway with a privileged past, a spy known as the Wraith, a heart-render using her magic to survive the slums, a thief with a gift for unlikely escapes, 6 dangerous outcasts, 1 impossible heist. Together, they might just be unstoppable if they don't kill each other first. I do not remember lots about this, which is sad because I should. It's... Okay, I'm gonna cheat. I screenshotted a little review. This review was by Ellie. Ellie Examines on Goodreads. I'll read this pretty quickly. 5 solid stars. This book pulled me in from the beginning. Blah blah blah. There's a creative plot, morally great characters, group dynamics, and banter, which I love in books. If the characters gel together, but each have their own personalities and stuff, that makes for a very happy time for me. There's romance. Tosses you into the main plot from the beginning, keeps you engaged. The book focuses on mind games and clever plotting. Blah blah blah. But yeah, it's character driven, well written. Lee Bardugo has another series. I can't remember if it's made into a TV show called the Shadow and Bone Trilogy. It sounds familiar. But anyway, check that out. 4.49 on Goodreads. next book suggestions video I do, if you would like it to be soft spoken, so more like this, where I'll talk to you, not in a whisper, but of course not yelling at you either, let me know. I did this in the first ever book reviews video where I spoke quietly. I know some people enjoyed it, some people like the whispering more. But yeah, please, feedback is awesome. I'm always trying to grow the channel, so anything that is beneficial to the channel, but also to you guys, if you feel like this is more calming in a way and enjoyable, I'll be more than happy to do a soft spoken book review. You know what? I'm actually going to I'll do the next 2 books soft spoken, and then I'm going to revert back to whispering, and you can see what you enjoy more. So the next one is The Pariah. This is by Anthony Ryan. Anthony Ryan has 4 series out now. I've read them all, and I've found he has really grown as an author throughout each series. The first series was called The Raven's Shadow. The first book in that series is Bloodsoul. I liked it. I feel like the reviews are probably high 3s if I remember correctly. Could be higher, but it was a really good, strong action, 1 main character, I believe, if I remember correctly. Yeah, really good. There's the Draconis Memoria. Now, is that behind me? Yeah, so let's not drop that. I'm just going to show this to you guys, but we'll talk about it in another video. This is really good. The Waking Fire. It's about people that can utilize dragon's blood to give themselves powers, and each dragon, colored dragon, has different powers. It's quite cruel to dragons, but it's really good. There's The Raven's Blade, that's a 2-part book series. I'll talk about that in another series as well. And then there's this one, the latest. This is 4.21 on Goodreads. It's about Elwyn Scribe. Elwyn Scribe starts out in a band of rogues. I'm trying to think. The band is, they're kind of like highwaymen. You know, they rob people and stuff. And he's a scribe in that band, so he's kind of looked after by the leader. He's very clever, and the leader sees that in him, and he's training him up. He then moves on to join the Covenant army, and there's martyrs involved in all of this. In the Covenant army, it's all about sort of religion, following the martyr, and going against the royalty, if I remember correctly, but it just keeps getting better and better. Let's read the back. When the task is a killing, be quick and make sure of it. Torment is an indulgence. Save it for only the most deserving. The Pariah begins a ruthless and gripping new fantasy epic from New York Times bestseller Anthony Ryan, blah blah blah. He's a master storyteller, etc. So it doesn't have a huge blurb on the back. It is first person, it just follows him. I've talked about this in the past, but I enjoy a good first person. Sometimes it's nice to not have to be waiting for certain chapters for your favourite characters to come about. Problem about first person is if you don't like the main character too much. I really like him. He's good. He's clever. It's a unique. It's, I don't know, it's just something I feel like I haven't read for a while. Like, written like this. A gritty, heart-pounding tale of betrayal and bloody vengeance. There's good action. There's some good secondary characters that he interacts with. Some bits will annoy you, maybe. I'm not always a huge fan of religion being involved in books, but this is really well written. And there is the sequel, which is called The Martyr, just above me. The 3rd book is not out yet.
Look it up. 4.21 on Goodreads. It's really good. Okay. The next soft-spoken review. Now this, when was it written? And then I'll tell you when I read it. I read it when it came out straight away. This was a copy written and reprinted in 2012. Originally came about in around 2007, it says. 2012. This is Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan, if it wants to focus. So, Michael J. Sullivan wrote 6 books in this series. This is the Ria Revelations. That's how I'm going to say it. He wrote them all before it was published. I believe he brought them out as digital books or ebooks first, maybe. And then when Orbit picked it up, they condensed the 6 into 3. So this is an omnibus. This is 2 books in one. Volume 1, Theft of Swords. I remember really enjoying this. And I can't remember much about it. Classic. Let's have a look. It's 4.22 on Goodreads. We'll read the back, as usual, and we'll go from there. They killed the king, they pinned it on 2 men, but they chose poorly. Royce Melbourne is a talented thief. His partner, Hadrian Blackwater, is a skilled mercenary. Together, they make a profitable living as agents for hire to wealthy nobles, until they become the unwitting scapegoats in a plot to murder the king. And so begins this epic tale of treachery and adventure, sword fighting and magic, myth and legend. Quite a short blurb. Because of that, I have screenshotted a little bit of a review from someone. Since I don't remember much, we can talk about it from there. Let's have a look. I can hear a plane in the background. Theft of Swords. Actually, just the blurb online I have. What did we say here? Yes, not much. What appears to be just a simple job finds them framed for the murder of the king and trapped in a conspiracy that uncovers a plot far greater than the mere overthrow of a tiny kingdom. Yes, I didn't say that, did it? Can a self-serving thief and an idealistic swordsman survive long enough to unravel the first part of an ancient mystery that has toppled kings and destroyed the empire, or empires? So this is a little excerpt from the author. He tells about how the 6 books are put into 3. So this allowed me to weave threads between the books, but I made sure that each title had its own conflict and resolution. My intention was to start small and end big, with the mysteries deepening and the stakes escalating with each book. Rather than front-loading, I purposely spread the world building and character development across the whole series, so there is always something new to learn or discover, until the final revelation, which concludes the series in a very satisfying fashion. So, what we can gather from that, you're not going to get bored. There's always something new. Which I do find very tiresome with a series, is the first book will grip me. I love it. The characters are amazing. There's some great scenes. And then it just seems like a lot of drudgery and plodding along until you get to the final book with the crescendo. It's nice that this book doesn't have that there's continually new things happening. I think that makes for a good read. The only thing I don't like is I'm not a fan of photos on the cover of books. It looks quite good, but I like something with a picture, like the Pariah, or, well, I say a picture, like a digital painting, or more graphic design, like Six of Crows. But for that, it doesn't stand out as much, but the title got me, because I love swords in books. So, just to mix this up, like I said, I will do some whispering now. I still might do a soft-spoken on the final book. I quite enjoy it. I feel like it puts less pressure on my vocal cords in a way, and it's just nice to mix it up. Sorry if you can hear any talking in the background. We have a full house, and my brother's over from London. Can hear my mother, she's not a quiet talker when on the phone. Oh, I'm trying to think where I just was. I had to pause for a second, it got loud as I was saying. So we'll whisper again for now. The next book is Red Sister, and this is by Mark Lawrence. I read this book in 2020, I believe during lockdown. This is by Mark Lawrence. He wrote a series before this, or maybe a couple, called The Broken Empire. Brutal, bloody, many people dying. He does not hold back. He's like Joe Abercrombie and George R.R. Martin. I really enjoyed Red Sister. I believe I enjoyed it more than Prince of Thorns and stuff from that first trilogy. Let's read the blurb and go from there. It gets 4.17 on Goodreads. I was born for killing. The gods made me to ruin. At the convent of Sweet Mercy girls, at the convent of Sweet Mercy, girls are raised to be killers. Some have inherited old bloods, which bestow upon them special talents. Sweet Mercy owns its novices' skills with care. It takes 10 years to educate a Red Sister in the deadly arts of blade and fist. But even the mistresses of sword and shadow don't fully understand what they have purchased when Nonna Grey is brought to their halls as a child of 8, accused of murder, but guilty of worse. In her short life, Nonna has made powerful enemies, and despite the security and isolation of the convent, her violent past will one day find her out. Nonna must face her demons and become a deadly assassin first person, but in the third, I believe. But yeah, you only follow Nonna throughout the series. It is action-packed. The fights, the different battle scenes are really well done. If I remember correctly, there are some larger scale battles, but it is not Wheel of Time style large battles. They are smaller. Little battles, little fights, but brutal and really well done. That's what Mark Lawrence is known for. And it's nice to have a female character as the lead. I love it. I've said in the past videos, when your character starts out young, so you get to see them grow and develop and become really ruthless. A world and a cast of characters that will sink their claws deep in you. I can't remember if in the latter books more characters are spoken about in the third person and they don't just follow Nonna. You would have to look into that, but every page I open to Nonna, like she's on every page because it just follows her, which is good. Just like the Pariah, as I said, you don't need to wait multiple chapters to get to your favourite character. There's only one, and she's a really good character, so you don't have to be upset about that. Not much to say, as usual. When do I ever remember anything? But it's good. Simple as that. It is good. It is really good. And I kept trying to lend this book to people because of how much I enjoyed it. It was one of those instant, I read it. Here, take it. Who wants it? Like, please, someone read it. It's so good. Talk to me about it. My friend Patrick, I think I talked him into reading this and he loved it. Okay. Jeez, today is just noisy in the background for me. Really hope it doesn't all come through. So I showed this in the book triggers video I did a few weeks ago. So I thought I would review it. Joe Abercrombie, The Blade itself. I was recommended this by my friend Matt, whom I haven't seen for many years in one of my acting classes. I would say back in 2014. So it's been about 10 years since I've read this. Much like Mark Lawrence, whom we just spoke about, Joe Abercrombie is known for being brutal. Lots of battles, fight scenes, ruthlessness. So also by Joe Abercrombie, the first law before they are hanged. So I'm not sure before this is book 1 of the first law. So that must be the second book before they hanged. Yeah. So the Blade itself. This is 4.21 on Goodreads. I'm just checking. I don't really have much written down. It had over 200,000 reviews. So it's been reviewed many times. I'm sure if you're watching this video that you're a fantasy fan probably. You've probably heard or read of this. Tell me what you thought of the series. I am due to reread it. The First Law, Book 1. Logan Ninefingers, infamous barbarian, has finally run out of luck. Caught up in one feud too many, he's about to become a dead barbarian, leaving nothing behind but bad songs and dead friends. Jezal Dan Luther, paragon of selfishness, has nothing more dangerous in mind than winning glory in the fencing circle. But war is brewing, and on the battlefields in the frozen north, they fight by altogether bloodier rules. Inquisitor Glocta, crippled This series looks really good. I can't remember what it's called, but it's not finished, I don't think. Tell me if you've read anything else by him and what you really loved. I love this textured cover. Okay, so let's finish with one more book. This is The Red Knight by Miles Cameron. Itchy nose. So you may recognize the name Miles Cameron if you've read this series, or you watched my previous suggestions video where I spoke about Cold Iron. Now, I had a lot of good things to say about Cold Iron. I said that Miles Cameron's character development had improved, and his writing. I still really enjoyed this series, and that's why I am suggesting it to you. So this is a quintet, and there's 5 books. I'm trying to think if it improves or stays the same. I would say it doesn't get worse. I would say it improves. It's a 4.10 on Goodreads, which is a really good review. Review score. Let's read from the back, and we'll go from there. $28 florins a month is a huge price to pay for a man to stand between you and the wild. 28 florins a month is nowhere near enough when a wyvern's jaws snap shut on your helmet in the hot stink of battle and the beast starts to rip the head from your shoulders. But if standing and fighting is hard, leading a company of mercenaries against the smart, deadly creatures of the wild is even harder. The Red Knight is the man to do it, and he's determined to turn a profit. So when he hires his company out to protect an abbess and her nunnery, it's just another job. The abbey is rich, the nuns are pretty, and the monster preying on them is nothing he can't deal with. Only it's not just a job, it's going to be war. Then it says this series promises to be a standout epic fantasy for the ages. So doing a little bit of research on Miles Cameron. He has a degree in medieval history. That really helps in this book. It is a great look into medieval life and how people went about things. I did one lesson on medieval history in university, found out there was an exam involved, and I went and saw the course coordinator and changed my course. I'm not one to do exams. That was my brief touch into medieval history. I took a little screenshot just to get a better idea on this series. The Red Knight, captain of the mercenaries that travel land looking for people to protect and all kinds of baddies to kill. We like that. It contains a lot of characters, this book, a compelling magic system, and all kinds of mythical creatures and monsters to satisfy almost any fantasy lover. Magic system is quite fascinating. I can't even remember it. It is referred to as hermetics or hermetical magic, When a mage or witch casts a spell, it is called a phantasm. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's just a review by, I don't even have the reviewer's name. Let's get back from that. Look, I'm going to tell you what I remember. It goes from small and gets bigger, as it says. You know, he's just a guy with part of a band that kills wyverns. And then they get pulled into a plot to save the world, essentially. He has some sort of magical ability. I can't remember exactly what. There's definitely multiple characters. Someone's review said that Miles Cameron chopped between characters too much, and so the book slowed down and couldn't flow as well as it should have. I would maybe agree, because I found the flow of Cold Iron a lot better, and yet I found this to be a grower. So when I said at the start, does the series get better or go across or whatever, I would say this is the rare case where it gets better with age. I find a lot of books like a lot of movies. The first is my favorite because it's creating the picture, and I really enjoy that. I really enjoy envisaging a new world and learning new characters, and then once I'm already in that world, the author has to work harder to keep me in it. I would say this is the opposite. The more you read, the more you get invested, and the more you want to continue. So, give it a go. See if your local library has it. I will put the links, like I've been doing recently, to Amazon. You're more than welcome to buy it on there. But a local library to save you money, to see if you like the series, or a secondhand bookshop would be a great way to semi-trust me and give it a go without using all your money. But I really enjoyed it. I think my friend Patrick, who's probably my biggest fantasy reading friend, didn't like it as much. I think he tried book one and I think he got to the point where he should have continued and didn't, and it would have gotten better. But the action is good and the characters are pretty good. There's one or two you might not like, but just look it up. As I said, I'm not great at remembering everything. I read too much a year to retain all the information. But as a book suggestion, I still rate it as a good one.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So, more fantasy book suggestions. They're always around the corner. I try and do them every month or so. This one you're going to recognize if you watched one of my recent videos of book triggers. This is The Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Lynch. So, if you haven't been a part of this before and this is your first fantasy book suggestions video with me, I call them suggestions because I don't do reviews. I'm not very good at remembering everything that happens in the books. So, I will give you the Goodreads rating of each book. I will tell you a bit about what happens. I'll read from the back of the book and we'll go from there. Heads up, any background noise I apologize for. Someone's decided to mow their lawn now. It's extremely hot, so we have the air conditioner on. The neighbors are noisy. But all that aside, let's get into some suggestions, and while we're doing that, some book triggers as well. So, starting off, this is 4.3 on Goodreads. Anything above a 4, I always say, is good. remains as strictly for himself and his tight-knit band of thieves, the gentlemen bastards. The capricious, colourful underworld of the ancient city of Camor is the only home they've ever known. But now a clandestine war is threatening to tear it apart. Caught up in a murderous game, Locke and his friends are suddenly struggling just to stay alive. So, what do I remember about this book? If you've seen my other videos, you'll know now. Probably not a lot. It's part of a 3-part series. It is, I mean, look at the cover. So, yeah, picture 1800s. That style, I would say. Or 1700s maybe. Pirate ships, there's magic involved, but I can't remember what. I remember it flowing really well. The next books in the series, if not get better, they at least are as good. I remember a bad guy. Wait, what was that? Am I thinking of another book? There's at least one decent. Like, there's always a decent villain, but he's a well-written one. Yeah, 4.3 on Goodreads. I've given you nothing. It's what I'm good at. I'm good at suggesting it and nothing else. Some of the other books I'm going to talk about I've read more recently, so I actually remember them. But while I was looking up the Goodreads review number for this, I read that Patrick Rothfuss, who wrote The Name of the Wind, one of my favourite books, actually used to get compared to Scott Lynch because Scott Lynch published this 1 year before Patrick Rothfuss published The Name of the Wind, and so critics were saying, oh, Patrick Rothfuss is the new Scott Lynch, and he hated being called that until he read the book and liked it, met Scott Lynch, thought he was cool, reread the book years later and loved it. I thought that was really interesting. So if Patrick Rothfuss loves it, it's pretty high praise. If you haven't read The Name of the Wind, it's incredible. I can't remember if I've had it in a book suggestions video, but if I haven't, I will definitely add it to one of the upcoming ones. Someone recently said they wanted fingernails tapping on a book. So they ask and they shall receive. That took way long to talk about. Or maybe not. I don't know, my counter looks like I'm talking and rambling. It's very hot where I'm from at the moment, and I am going crazy. I have a hat because I didn't feel like fixing my Their society has been built around war and only war. The lucky ones are born gifted. 1 in every 2,000 women has the power to call down dragons. 1 in every 100 men is able to magically transform himself into a bigger, stronger, faster killing machine. Everyone else is fodder, destined to fight and die in the endless war. Young, giftless Tao knows all this, but he has a plan of escape. He's going to get himself injured, get out early, and settle down to marriage, children, and land. Only he doesn't get the chance. Those closest to him are brutally murdered, and his grief swiftly turns to anger. Fixated on revenge, Tao dedicates himself to an unthinkable path. He'll become the greatest swordsman to ever live, a man willing to die 100,000 times for the chance to kill the 3 who betrayed him. Again, apologies for the background, it's very noisy. So the back of, the blurb I read from on my phone, it gave some away without you really knowing what's going on. The main character, Tao, when he goes on this path of vengeance, he becomes unstoppable in the coolest way ever. I won't say how he trains over and over again to become better. And by the way, I'm saying this and I swear I've done this in another reviews video, so apologies again for that if that's true. I cannot say how he gets better because it's too cool and you can discover it when you read the book. But as that reading said, 1 in 100 people are bigger, stronger. They're like berserkers, pretty much. They're in the sense of being incredibly gifted. Strength. He doesn't have that, so he has to overcome that to become the best. And the bigger, stronger guys look down on the little ones. Classic natural selection, whatever. Until they learn otherwise, until he becomes the biggest boss ever. There's dragons involved. Hence, they said, what was it? 1 in 2,500 women has the power to call dragons. And at the moment, there's a massive war going on. And the enemies are numerous, and they might have other magic, but I don't believe they have dragons. That's kind of like the good guys' way of surviving, of using these dragons to help conquer their enemies. I don't know what else to say because I don't remember everything. This is rereadable. I need to read it soon. It is so good. That's all I need to say. Tons of cool fighting. Good characters. I forget if it's first person or if there's multiple characters. Viewpoints. I feel like it's only Tao. I feel like it's like just the one guy you follow. No, I'm already. No, that says Tao. Let's go to this page. Tao. Let's go to this page. Tao. Yeah, he's on every page, so I believe you're just following him. He screws someone over at the start, and then they become. They're not a bad guy, but they're not a good guy. Welcome to my channel. I know nothing, but I still tell you to read it. Let me give you some ASMR sounds and I'll shut up. the stupid, and the greedy. The misery is a wasteland, a dangerous, corrupted frontier between the Republic and the deep kings. When traitors, thieves, and spies try to flee, they run for the misery, and often as not, it's Captain Royal Calhara's job to bring them to heel beneath the fractured skies. Provided they haven't already fallen prey to the twisted creatures that inhabit the shifting, polluted sands. It's a deadly place, even for a man of Calhara's experience. But it's a necessary place, because the Republic's only other defense against the deep kings is Nell's engine, a weapon of incomparable power that protects the wasteland's border. And that final defense may have just failed. Dun dun dun. Reading the back of that, it's funny, I don't remember much about this book, but reading the back of that vividly puts in my mind what the book looks like, the world, with the fractured skies and the desolate landscape. It's post-apocalyptic. I can remember adventuring around almost like a video game with Captain Calhara. He's a captain, right? Yeah. And there's like different towns they have to, kind of like border towns of it, and they have to try and navigate between. And not many people go into the misery. They think it's crazy to continually go in there all the time. And he's got a little bit of a crew. I seem to remember a woman. And nothing else. Let's see if there's any Elizabeth. Yeah, that's probably one of the main characters. The engine, Nell's engine, that's broken or whatever. There's a few people involved with fixing that. It was super smart. I don't remember what sort of magic system there is. I would say this is not a book of epic fantasy battles and stuff like that. Kind of like The Lies of Locke Lamora. You're not getting those huge battles. It's more adventure style of discovery and other things. There's still fights and all, but yeah, unlike The Rage of Dragons, which to me has some epic, massive battles, and is more traditional epic fantasy. On the back it says Game of Thrones meets Gladiator for The Rage of Dragons, which is pretty cool terminology. I like this. I love the cover. I love the whole desolate wasteland, something a bit different than, sprawling fields and meadows and forests and mountains and very Lord of the Rings in other books. This is not that. So I read this probably as soon as it came out. I always seem like an idiot that I don't remember anything, but is anyone else out there like me that reads a book and can't really, for the life of them, remember the characters? I just read too much. Yeah. I read Animal Farm recently. First time ever I mentioned it in another video that I would read it, and I did. And I'm now reading 1984. What do you think of George Orwell? I think it's different. I'm quite enjoying it. Definitely not my usual style. Anyway, moving on. The Waking Fire by Anthony Ryan. Oh, I like that sound. So Anthony Ryan, we have talked about him before. I don't think we talked about this one, I hope not. We've talked about should be behind me, guys. Where is it? The Martyr his first ever trilogy, something Wolf, Call of the Wolf or whatever, was pretty good. And as I've said in another video, his series just get better and better. This one is really cool. What makes this one cool? Well, I'm going to do my usual read the back, or I'm going to screenshot the blurb and then we'll go from there. Okay. Because like the other book, this one just has a bunch of reviews. I couldn't care less. I want the blurb. Yada yada yada. Fans of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, George R. Martin, blah blah blah. Okay. Throughout, put it behind us so you can kind of see the book while I talk. Throughout the vast lands controlled by the Iron Ship Syndicate, nothing is more prized than the blood of drakes, harvested from the veins of captive or hunted reds, green, blues, and blacks. It can be distilled into elixirs that give fearsome powers to the rare men and women who have the ability to harness them, known as the blood blessed. But not many know the truth, that the lions of Drake's awakening, if they fail, war with the neighbouring Corventine Empire will follow swiftly. The Syndicate's last hope resides in whispers of the existence of another breed of Drake, far more powerful than the rest, and the few who have been chosen by fate to seek it. Claydon Creek is a petty thief and an unregistered blood blessed who finds himself pressed into service by the Protectorate and sent to wild, uncharted territories in search of a creature he believes is little more than legend. Lizane Lethridge is a formidable spy and assassin, facing gravest danger on an espionage mission deep into the heart of enemy territory, and Corrick Islemore is the second lieutenant of an iron ship whose pursuit of ruthless brigands leads him to a far greater threat at the edge of the world. As lives and empires clash and intertwine, as the unknown and the known collide, all three must fight to turn the tide of a coming war or drown in its wake. What did we say that was? 4.05. I really liked this. It was unique. The fact that you can consume dragon blood and receive different powers is something I haven't heard of before in a series. If you have, let me know. When it's not this one, there's another two. It might be in my other room. There we go. Empire of Ashes and Legion of Flames. Now, I just want to see if I'm getting I'm pretty sure I'm not getting mixed up with another series where I believe the iron ships are flying ships. But maybe I'm thinking of another series on my mind. And the guys that control them are bad. Is that right? Yeah, I'm just gonna go with that and you guys can tell me if there's another series. Yeah, super interesting. Epic fantasy in a way. I can't remember if there's massive battles in it, but just well written. Anthony Ryan does not get worse, he gets better. And this was his second or third series. Second. His first was Raven's Shadow Blood Song, nothing to do with a wolf. Maybe his third book was the one, third series is the one to do with the wolf. All I can say is just check it out, guys. It's good. It's a good series. Got my friend onto it and he loved it. How many of it? Oh well, very close. My recording stopped. My ring light fell. Onto my laptop. Anyway, everything's back together. Why do I like this book? Before I even read it, the first thing I heard was, this is Sons of Anarchy meets Orcs meets fantasy. And it's kind of exactly like that. Not many books, I think that's what I was going to say, not many books have orcs as their main character, at least the ones I read. So that was refreshing. I'm used to it being humans, maybe sometimes elves, the odd dwarf, but normally humans, so orcs, good, different, we like. What makes these orcs different? Why are they the good guys? So in this book, the full-grown orcs are the bad ones, and these are the half-breeds. The half-breeds are the good ones. The orcs will have raiding parties, and they'll come across and steal women or men. I can't remember if they steal both. And they'll, do the business, and they end up with half-orcs. Now the half-orcs can be either a thrice blood, which means they're 3 parts orc, 1 part human, or twice blood. I can't remember if it's called twice blood. No, once, they don't call it once blood, I just remember thrice blood being like the strongest half-orc, good guy. And why is it like Sons of Anarchy? Because they ride warthogs. But the way they describe it, it's literally like a bunch of dudes. Sorry about the noise. Getting on there like warthogs, and yeah. It's brash and crass, and it is what you would expect from a bunch of dudes hanging out in a bar that are inappropriate, and yeah. I'm just gonna pause it for a minute because the background noise, sorry. Sorry guys, it's been non-stop. Today's a weird one. And now I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, we've talked a bit about it. Yeah, Sons of Anarchy meets fantasy, truly. Very, very boyish. Let's read the back. Jackal is proud to be a grey bastard, member of a sworn brotherhood of half-orcs. Unloved and unwanted in civilized society, the bastards eke out a hard life in the desolate no-man's land called the Lots, protecting frail and noble human civilization from invading bands of vicious, full-blooded orcs. But on the heels of the ultimate betrayal, Jackal will start to question where his true loyalties lie. Betrayal? What's going on there? So you have the full-blood orcs, you have the half-orcs, and you have the humans. I'm falling apart here. Sorry. You have the humans that are protected because the half-orcs are in between them and the orcs, so they don't have to stress. The half-orcs are the ones that are always fighting back the full-orcs, and the half-orcs have a bunch of different bands, and then they all don't like each other. And there's a lot of history. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I had a late one last night. Whoops. Too old for this. For that. Yeah. Look, it's good. It's different. If you, considering we just celebrated International Women's Day last week, it does not support women well. So, it might not be for you. It's not anti-women exactly. It's just very, boys and booze and sex and on their warthogs. And yet it made for a good read. What did it get? It gets 4.07. That's not bad. Something to think about. definitely still was unhinged, but pretty good. My mother the other day, she's like, I'm like, Mum, you're talking to yourself. And she's like, well, you do that all the time in front of your camera. Burn. That's like me right now going crazy and chatting about whatever and getting sidetracked. How savage by my mother though. Mum, I'm creating YouTube videos. It's important. Sorry, just saw one of my boots is dented. That's annoying. Back to the video. Okay, last book. This is Gardens of the Moon by Stephen Erickson. This was in my book triggers video recently. I promised that I would add it into this video like the Lies of Locklamore. It gets 3.92 on Goodreads. Okay, so we've talked about a couple books that aren't epic fantasy, some that are a bit more so. This is as epic fantasy as it comes. 10 books long. They're all real chunky. This book is 700 pages and some of them go longer. Tons of magic, epic battles, weird and wonderful characters, super big villain, bad guy, or bad guys, but there's the main, no, one bad guy, but obviously he's got lots of other underlings. Written well, written in a style that is very descriptive, long-winded at times, many characters to learn. And if you've read The Wheel of Time, if you've read Terry Goodkind, if you've read George R. Martin, you will know what you're getting yourself into with this series. But I read it all, and I liked it for the most part. I think those big series I just sometimes get a bit exhausted, but The Wheel of Time will always be number one, as I always say. But I'll still try all the rest. Let's read the book. Starts off an astounding debut as the potential to become a defining work. Well, that's from years ago. Did it become a defining work? Sure, let's say it did. First written in 1999, sure. Bled dry by interminable warfare, infighting, and bloody confrontations with Lord Anomander Rake, the Malazan Empire simmers with discontent. Its legions yearn for some respite. For Sergeant Whiskey Jack and his bridge burners and Tata Sail, surviving sorceress of the Second Legion, the aftermath of the siege of Bale should have been a time to mourn the dead. But Empress Lassine's gaze has fallen upon Darujistan. For this ancient citadel, last of the free cities of Genepacus, still holds out against her. However, the Empire is not alone in this great game. Sinister forces are gathering as the gods themselves prepare to play their hand. I can't remember much. Who would have thought? Tons of characters, tons of characters. best form of immersing into a giant world. This is it for you. You know, if you're like me, where you're really struggling to find a series, and so finding a big series is good because then you're like, I don't have to try and find another one. I can sit on this for books and books. This is a good choice. It gets 3.92, but I'm sure the books as they go along probably go up in rating as the true fans stick with it. So try and get through the first one. If you like it, keep going. If you don't. Get it from your local library if you want to not risk buying it. It definitely didn't grow. It grew on me. It didn't encapsulate me straight away. Whatever the word is. But yeah, give it a go. 3.92. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So today, it's happening again. More book suggestions. We're gonna kick things off with Empire of the Damned. So if you're new to the channel, these are gonna be book suggestions, not reviews. I'm gonna tell you what I think of them, what I remember of them, because I forget a lot. And I'm going to give you their Goodreads rating and just the idea and the premise of it, and then you can do some research and see if it's the book for you. But I love fantasy books. My bookshelf has plenty of them. I have another 6 bookshelves around the house. Like not just a shelf, but bookshelves. Another 6 lots. Yeah. Let's get into it. So this is by J. Christoph. He has written some other books. He's also written the Empire of the Vampire Behind Me, which is book 1 of this series, which I've spoken about. But I thought I'd talk about this because I started reading it the other day. So on Goodreads, this is 4.65. Wow. I always say anything above a 4 is good. 4.65 is insane. Now that is only of 5,000 reviews. But that's still solid. I'm going to read the back and then I'll chat a little bit about it. Gabrielle de Leon. Actually, you know what? In case you haven't read the series, I'm going to read the back of the first one, but I'll talk a bit about this and how it's continued from the first, because I don't want to give anything away. Big books. So the back of Empire of the Vampire reads like this. It has been 27 long years since the last sunrise. For nearly 3 decades, vampires have waged war against humanity, building their eternal empire even as they tear down our own. Now, only a few tiny sparks of light endure in a sea of darkness. Gabrielle de Leon, half man, half monster, and last remaining Silver Saint, a sworn brother of the Holy Silver Order, dedicated to defending the realm from the creatures of the night, is all that stands between the world and its end. Now imprisoned by the very monsters he vowed to destroy, the last Silver Saint is forced to tell his story. A story of legendary battles and forbidden love, of faith lost and friendships won, of the wars of the blood and the forever king, and the quest for humanity's last remaining hope, the Holy Grail. What do you think? Or what do I think? It's amazing. It's so good. I naturally had to buy the next in the series. So it's about half vampires being the good guys and mix the two bloods, then they're a half vampire, and the half vampires are actually good. The second book is going well. If you enjoyed the first, if you bought it after my suggestion, the second, I can confirm, really good. So it's where the main character is narrating what happened. He's captured in current time. This is including in the first book, so I'm not ruining anything. By the vampires, and he's narrating his life to this vampire. And so it cuts to the present and then goes back in time, and it's going through his life. It's beautiful, it's amazing. I love little aspects, like it's all in English, but they'll have French afflictions and, you know, they're like more chérie and whatever French terminology, and I love it. It's written really nicely. Fun characters, great battles. At the moment, there's my bookmark. I am in the middle of like an epic battle. They've just been hit off their horses. There's three of them at the moment. They've been hit off their horses, and there's about to be a big fight. They've already been fighting, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna do a video, then I'll get back into it. But just look up the reviews of it and what you think. I'm not like a huge vampire book reader. I've read, this is probably the second or third vampire book I've read before. But it's good. It is good. It is great. And J. Croft's stuff is amazing. He has another series I'll talk about one day. But look it up. As I said, book suggestions, not reviews, because I never remember enough, as I always say. But it's already a bit in, so I'm going to kick on. This book. Have you ever seen David Farland, The Sum of All Men? How old does that look to you, or does it look brand new? Because I can assure you, it is probably 15 years old. I've kept it in mint condition. Actually, it might even be 17 years old. Let us give you the Goodreads. First off, it is 3.77. We've gone from a 4.65 to a 3.77. Some of you might wonder why I'm adding this. I'm adding this because of how different it is. It's not my favourite series. It's something I would recommend if you know someone that has it and you want to borrow from them, or you see it in a second-hand bookshop, or your local library has it. Because if you buy it, there's another 7 books. So it would become an expensive purchase for something that I wouldn't say is a top-tier series. It is the eve of Hostonfest, and effigies of the Earth King fill the streets. In this festive season, the young Rune Lord Prince Gaborn Val Orden has come seeking the alliance of marriage that will safeguard his people's future. Far to the south, but not far enough, Raj Arten, the Wolf Lord of Indhopal, moves through the land, his army destroying anything and anyone in his path. From the conquered, he takes prizes, stealing their strength, their endurance, their wisdom, their most potent attributes. The Wolf Lord seems destined to bring all of humanity under his rule, unless after 2,000 years the Earth King should rise again. What to say about a book I have read many moons ago and can't remember much of? But the reason I brought this up is I've never seen it before for its magic system. So, where it says he steals their, he takes their prizes, their strength, their endurance, whatever. These Rune doing my top 5. And part of me is like, maybe I've had it in another video. But let me show you. And if I did put it in another video, well, you're getting it again. This absolute tome of a book. Look at the size of that. It's half my head, or more. The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Epic fantasy. I'm guessing a lot of you right now are like, Sanderson, we love him. He's very well known. This book gets 4.6. Where does it get? 4.66 over 400,000 reviews. Itchy. To get 4.66 over 400,000 reviews is insane. This is the author that finished off Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time after Robert Jordan passed away. It's what put him on the radar for me. And it took me a few years to finally start reading some of his works, and I knew from the start exactly why Robert Jordan chose him to finish his epic series, my favourite series of all time. Let us read the back. Oh, if I read the back first, I wouldn't have had to repeat myself. Widely acclaimed for his work completing Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time saga, Brandon Sanderson now begins a grand cycle of his own, one every bit as ambitious and immersive. Roshar is a world of stone and storms. Uncanny tempests of incredible power sweep across the rocky terrain so frequently that they have shaped ecology and civilization alike. Animals hide in shells, trees pull in branches, and grass retracts into the stony ground. Cities are built only where the land offers shelter. It has been centuries since the fall of the 10 consecrated orders known as the Knights Radiant, but their shard blades and shard plate remain, mystical swords and suits of armour that transform ordinary men into near invisible warriors. Men trade kingdoms for shard blades, wars were fought for them and won by them. One such war rages on a ruined landscape called the Shattered Plains. There, Kaladin, who traded his medical apprenticeship for a spear to protect his little brother, has been reduced to slavery. In a war that makes no sense, where 10 armies fight separately against a single foe, he struggles to save his men and to fathom the leaders who consider them expendable. Bright Lord Dalinar Golan commands one of those armies. Like his brother, the late king, he is drawn to an ancient text called The Way of Kings. Troubled by overpowering visions of ancient times in the Knights Radiant, he has begun to doubt his own sanity. And across the ocean, an untried young woman named Shallan seeks to train under an eminent scholar and notorious heretic, Dalinar's niece, Jasna. Though she genuinely loves learning, Shallan's motives are less than pure. As she plans a daring theft, her research for Jasna hints at secrets of the Knights Radiant and the true cause of the war. What do you think of that? I think that's one of the better blurbs I've read on a novel. It hints at a lot, but still keeps so much back. There is an incredible magic system in this and other books in the Brandon Sanderson series that is written. and I don't really want to give anything away, but they're very unique, and it's worth reading 100 times over. I'm trying to think if I've read this book once or twice. I can't remember if I reread this series when the third book came out. Galadin is my favourite character in this. Is the I would say the main one. It's not first person like this. As in, what am I trying to say? There's not just one character it follows, as it says on the back. It follows multiple. If I remember correctly. Yeah. No, it definitely follows multiple. But it's so good. I'm not really going to say much. I'm bad at remembering. I need to reread it, but it is top tier. There was a famous actor I saw probably in the last 6 months that was reading this, and I was like, nice, like the word is out. Everyone knows about this. It's been around for years. I would say 2010s. Copyright 2010. Wow. There you go. Okay. Time marches on. This next book I started reading, so I'm reading a couple books at the same time. I'm reading this in my lunch breaks. It's a little novella. I never read novellas. Probably because I just don't want to pay so much for such a small book. However, I was given this to borrow. This is How You Lose the Time War. I got given this book with no context, just got told to read it. It is 3.91 on Goodreads. I think there's been a few 100,000 reviews, so it's well known, by Amal El Motar. I'll read the back. I'll tell you what I've learned of the book so far. I still don't know what's meant to happen fully. I don't know what it's about exactly, but I'm getting to know the premise, and it's pretty awesome. It's beautiful. It's written well. This book has it all: treachery and love, lyricism and gritty action, existential crisis, and space opera scope, not to mention time-travelling super agents. Gladstone's and El Motar's debut collaboration is a fireworks display from two very talented storytellers. Rich and strange, a romantic tour through all of time and the multiverse. And then, so these are people's reviews, and a third one. An intimate and lyrical tour of time, myth, and history, with a captivating conversation between characters and authors. That's funny. So I read the author, Amal El Motar, but it's also Max Gladstone. That makes a little bit more sense, and very interesting. Redbird, Bluebird. In the book there's two characters, Red and Blue. Red is a cyborgy type person, described as having the functions of a human, but with cogs and gears and that sort of thing. And Blue is of nature. I don't think that's mentioned yet. Blue's makeup and how Blue operates, if Blue is pure flesh and blood, or more. There are super agents. They time travel up and down the threads of time, altering
So you'll read this as you read it from Red's perspective, and then Red. So you read it from Red and Blue's perspective for the first little bit, pop pop, and then one of them leaves a letter for the other. So then, as I'm now in like 80 something pages through, you'll read Red's perspective. Red will discover a letter. Red reads the letter. It's from Blue, and then it turns into Blue's part of the book, and then Blue, as a scene, discovers a letter. It's from Red, and at the start it's them. I'll try not really give too many spoilers away, but a little bit. But it's them hating each other, and they're trying to win their side of the war. But then it turns into I'm literally only about here in the book, so less than halfway, and it's turning more into a love between the two of them. It seems like they're individuals that are alone in their universe, in a way, and they've found this camaraderie and connection and love for each other, and it's becoming quite beautiful how they're trying to win for their side, but at the same time not completely screw over the other person. I don't know where it's going, I don't know what the theme is. There's no background on what Red's side of the universe is trying to attain or whatever, or obtain or whatever, and same with Blue. There's none of that. It just jumps into the characters doing that thing. Different, very different to what I'm used to. I guess you have to fit lots into a small box, so you can't be too detailed. But I rate it. If you want a novella that's different, you've never read a space opera, which I haven't, or maybe you haven't, you like that, you want to read that, whatever. Yeah, try it. If you have read it, tell me what you think. I'm enjoying it, I really am. Some people love page turning. I don't want to pay attention to the pages though, because I haven't read this part of the book. Okay, we have a few books still. Let's kick on. The next one is an omnibus. The Legend of Eli Press by Rachel Aaron. If you don't know what an omnibus is, it is a bunch of books or novels in one. Whether it was just originally written as a bunch of books that they always wanted to put into one, or whether they were written individually, published and released individually, and then eventually compiled into one. I'm not sure. I think that's a more popular choice, but maybe you guys know more. This on Goodreads is 4.18, which is solid. It's above a 4. We love that. It's big. It's 900 pages. Normally a book like that I would say is 600-700, but the pages are super thin. I would say they're as thin as paper, but this paper is ultra thin. You can see, I mean you can't see, but I can see the light shine through it to the words on the other side. My camera will shut off shortly, and it'll just be me hitting record again, because it cuts off after 30 minutes of footage, including me mucking around at the start. You know what, I'm just going to stop it now so it doesn't stop halfway through talented, he's charming, and he's a thief. But not just any thief. He's the greatest thief of the age, and he's also a wizard, and with the help of his partners, a swordsman with the most powerful magic sword in the world, and a demon seed who can step through shadows and punch through walls, he's going to put his grand plan into effect. Because Eli won't rest until he's amassed a fortune, step one in his plan is to increase the bounty on his head, so he'll need to steal some big things. He'll start small for now though. He'll just steal something that no one will miss, at least for a while. Like a king. A delightfully giddy romp of a novel, Karen Miller. Witty, smart, snappy, sassy, fast, furious, and let's not forget fun. Tom Holt. Outstanding, highly recommended for all fantasy readers. Book list. Couple reviews. At the front, wry humour, engaging characters, and full tilt action. C. Martin. This book contains 5 books, so that would mean they're about 200 pages each. What's good about that? The story's going to keep flowing. You're not going to get bogged down, it's not going to get boring. More characters get brought into it through the other books, so you will not get bored. Do I remember much about it? Not really. Is that a bad thing? No, that's me with everything. The books in the series, the first is The Legend of Eli Monpress. That's the trilogy, which is The Spirit Thief, The Spirit Rebellion, and The Spirit Eater. Then there's The Legend of Eli Monpress Part 1 Omnibus Edition and The Revenge of Eli Monpress. Wait. No! There are different lots of... I'm just so dumb. Then you have 3 books, I guess, that were originally done on their own. And then there's this, because that was his whole books Rachel's ever written. So yes, no, this only has 3 books in it. Please don't let me give you false information. So it has the Spirit Theme, the Spirit Rebellion, the Spirit Eater. So 3 books, 900 pages, 300 pages each. Still 300 pages for a fantasy book isn't huge, so it's a nice amount. I don't have much to say. It's already going to be a long video and I have 2 more books, so just look it up on Goodreads, read some reviews. But if you like thief books, which I love, they're some of my favourite. I love when the main character is a thief, so give it a crack. You can tell it's quite poor quality. There's like these lines going diagonally across the page where the cutting device has marred the pages. I don't like that. There's lots of yellow staining on it. Not from me. Page. I don't know. Cool. The next book, I love its cover. What do you think? The Black Coast by Mike Brooks. Do you buy books based on their covers? I pick them up based on their covers, but then I'm at the bookstore and I'm checking Goodreads, what's the rating? If it's 3 if I'm in a bookstore, I would say 3.8, 3.9 above, then I'm really considering buying it. If I already think the back sounds good, then 3.8 above. Done. I won't do any more research than that. If it's got a high rating, but I don't think the blurb sounds good, I might read some reviews then, and that might determine whether I buy it or not. So this is flat on Goodreads, and it only has 1100 ratings. So it's not very well known. I'm not sure if Mike Brooks is Australian. Maybe it hasn't been released elsewhere around the world, or they're just, not a popular book. I'm trying to find the about the author section. Where are you from? Potentially from Britain. Yeah. They're from the UK. I'm surprised it only has 1100 reviews, but anyway, moving on, let's read the blurb. War dragons, fearsome raiders, a demonic warlord on the rise. That's in the little bit there. When they spot raiders on the horizon, the Knights of Black Keep saddle their war dragons, preparing to defend their people. But this time the raiders have not come to pillage. Driven from their own land by a demonic despot prophesizing the end of the world, this raiding fleet comes in search of a new home. Meanwhile, the wider continent of Narita is lurching toward war. The settlement at Blackkeep is about to be caught in the crossfire if only its new mismatched society can survive. Some reviews. With incredible action and epic world building at its finest, discover the Black Coast, the start of an unmissable debut fantasy series of dangers, magic, and empires. Well, that wasn't a review, these are the reviews. Epic, powerful. I really can't recommend this one enough. Vibrant and intricate world building, and then compelling, promises to be a watershed epic fantasy series. I loved it. There you go. There's the second book. Look at those beautiful covers. The second book is The Splinter King. I need to look if there's a third book out yet. Yes, what do I think? I liked it. Was it my favourite ever series? No. Was it different? Yes. Would I recommend it? I would recommend you to look up the reviews. I think I would recommend it. I liked this fact of marrying two cultures together. You know, I think it's a great look on what we should be doing in our world, and how blending two cultures together improves this Black Keep. It strengthens them. The raiders, who are actually people that have been driven from their own lands, actually have stuff to teach the people of the Black Keep and vice versa, and they can create a more progressive and empowered people. I think we definitely need to think about that more in our daily lives, and people that might be immigrants to our country, or vice versa, people that were in our country before us, as the original custodians. For instance, I'm in Australia, the Aboriginal people, and how we can all benefit from working together. I think that's what he tried to get at with this book. But also, if you want some cool action, there's that as well. Give it a go. I remember reading it, and I had no... I wasn't texting everyone saying you have to read this, but I wasn't putting it down either. It was just enjoyment and discovery, and there's some nice characters, and the relationships between the characters, and how they all unfold.
17. His father's shock was understandable. The raiders' strange double-hulled ships usually came in 2s or 3s, or sometimes as just one. Damon had heard of a 4-boat raid further up the coast once, nigh on 100 screaming milk faces descending with fire and their crude, yet deadly, black stone weapons, but that had been an anomaly. The numbers of battle clicking through his head came to a standstill. Black Keep would be overrun in a short order. There were almost certainly more raiders on those ships than there were people in the entirety of Black Keep Town, and very few aside from Damon, Darrell, and their father had any skill in battle. Find Malakal and open the armory. Azrael snapped at the 2 guards. Arm anyone who can carry a weapon. Go. So that happens. That's just a little insert of something from the book, but that's quite early on in the book, as the raid is landing. Let's hit you with the final book. Another one that I grabbed that is not my favourite, but maybe it could be yours. It is many people's favourites. It is the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, Hugo Award winner. The Hugo Award is for fantasy books. This one in 2016. This is 4.31 on Goodreads, and that's with over 200,000 reviews if I remember. I was not hugely sold on this, but I wanted to put it as a suggestion just to give you guys the name of it if you don't know it because of how popular it is. Sure, I'll share it. Shortlisted for the Nebula, winner of the Hugo. This is the way the world ends for the last time. It starts with the Great Red Rift across the heart of the world's sole continent, spewing ash that blots out the sun. It starts with death, with a murdered son and a missing daughter. It starts with betrayal and long, dormant wounds rising up to fester. This is the stillness, a land long familiar with catastrophe, where the power of the earth is wielded as a weapon, and where there is no mercy. Look, it's different to what I've read. There's some cool magic going on. The characters are pretty good, but I don't know. I just never fully connected with it. There was some sort of disconnect with me in the book. So I'm not really going to say much about it because I don't remember anything other than that it wasn't great. So why am I suggesting it? It's because it's 3.1 on Goodreads. Sorry, 4.31. 4.31. And it won the Hugo. If you've read it, let me know what you think. So many people think it's incredible. I don't know. But you guys still deserve to know about it. I'm not gonna just suggest stuff that is my best in what I've read. I'm gonna suggest a few where I wasn't sure, but maybe other people will enjoy it. This is one of them. There is nothing, you blurt, and then you fall silent, uneasy, when she focuses sharply on you. Now you have to finish. I mean, there's nothing safe, missus, that would hurt people. That's the only reason anyone drinks it, because it tastes like boiled horse. Now the woman looks annoyed. That's not true. Where the Rus did you learn that? It's something you used to teach into the Tiramo Grace, but before you can say this, she snaps. Safe doesn't work as well if it's in a cold solution. Everybody knows that. Needs to be room temperature or lukewarm.
zest of knowledge no mortal should have, disturbing. No one but a geomast would know so many useless facts so thoroughly. Anyway, well, exam, a geomast and whatever, yeah, different magic systems and stuff. If I haven't already said it, tell me what you think if you've read it.
Hello everyone. So today is going to be a little bit different. Today is all about fantasy book reviews. I'm going to review the books, not in a whisper but like a quiet voice, so I would love your feedback on what you think. The first book we have is Shadow of the Gods by John Quinn.
Okay, a little bit about this book. So, John Gwynne is a fantasy author. This is his third series, and potentially his best. I really loved it. Reasons why I loved it. I find a lot of fantasy books they're not Norse inspired, that's for sure, which this is. It's about, well, let's read the blurb. Set in a brand new Norse-inspired world and packed with myth, magic, and bloody vengeance, The Shadow of the Gods begins an epic new fantasy saga. Doesn't really say much. Basically, the gods were these beasts, these animals. There was Snacker, the snake. There was a dragon, the wolf god. There was a giant eagle. I don't remember their name, sorry. And the people in the book with the most power are able to harness one of the gods' powers. These people are called tainted. So it revolves around three characters. There's Orca, Varg, and Elva. They're each tainted, and they each have their own story arc. Varg is probably the underdog. Well, he definitely is. Orca is naturally... she's a warrior goddess. She's really strong. And Elva... I don't remember as much about him. I'm terrible remembering books. All you need to know is on Goodreads, it's I've got it written down, 4.26. There's a lot of action, and the characters are really well written. It's really just incredible characterization. I love that about John Gwynne. You really attach yourself to the characters. So that's my first suggestion. I'm not very good at explaining books too well. What I suggest is just Google it, The Shadow of the Gods, and look up reviews. So for the next book, a lot of people might have heard of it. It's blown up on TikTok. I heard about it through a friend. And this is Fourth Wing. 21-year-old Violet Sorengale was supposed to enter the scribe quadrant, living a quiet life among books and history. Now, the commanding general, her tough as Talon's mother, has ordered Violet to join the hundreds of candidates striving to become the elite of Navarre, or maybe it's Navari, I'm not sure. Dragon Riders, they're the elite. But when you are smaller than everyone else and your body is brittle, death is only a heartbeat away. because dragons don't bond to fragile humans, they incinerate them. It says more about it on the back, but basically it's a classic underdog story. Violet Sorrengail, mental blank. She is brittle. She breaks easily. She's used to going to the hospital to be fixed up, and she wants to be a scribe. She's really smart and a bookworm. But her mother has other ideas, so she starts training to become a dragon rider. What's amazing about this is it's all from her perspective, which can be fun. So you never, with a lot of fantasy, they have so many characters, you just have your favorites that you want the story to go back to, but it always goes around her. It's addictive. It's so addictive. A classic underdog story. Well written. There's plenty of action. She has some great friends in it. There's some really saucy moments, but they work. What else is there to say about it? There's dragons. I really don't want to give anything away. There's dragons, there's action, there's sauce. There's an underdog story, which is my favorite in any fantasy. And yeah, just look it up. I read it in 2 days. Does she get a dragon or not? That's Fourth Wing, guys. Let's read from the first page. Conscription Day is always the deadliest. Maybe that's why the sunrise is especially beautiful this morning, because I know it may be my last. I tighten the straps of my heavy canvas rucksack and trudge up the wide staircase of the stone fortress I call home. My chest heaves with exertion, my lungs burning by the time I reach the stone corridor leading to General Sorrengail's office. That gets 4.66 on Goodreads, which is an incredible rating. You never see anything that high, so full thing. The next book is my favourite book series of all time. You might have seen it recently on Amazon, it's now a TV show. It's The Wheel of Time. This is a 14-book series, starting with The Eye of the World. It is a classic, epic fantasy series. So the back of this book doesn't have a description or blurb of it. It just has this. There is a world of light and shadow where good and evil wage eternal war. It is the world of the Wheel of Time, the greatest fantasy epic ever written. I agree. The Wheel of Time turns and ages come and go, leaving memories that become legend. Legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave it birth returns again. But one truth yet remains, and what mortal men forget, the Aes Sedai do not. I'm not very good at remembering how to say the names, or just knowing. So, with this book, there are many, many characters. At the start, it revolves around the three boys, one of which is the Dragon Reborn, and then it moves on to a lot of other characters, many female characters. I would say it's male-driven, and the TV show has tried to give it a twist of being more female-driven, which I don't think is a terrible idea. I love that. I think a lot of older books are a little bit
misogynistic and stuff. But the characters themselves in the TV show just don't have the same feel at all of the book series. I think that the TV show, it sucks. So if you have seen the show, if you liked it, read the book. If you didn't like the show, read the book. But only read it if you love epic fantasy, because it's 14 books long. Some standouts with this book. It's epic, it's good versus evil. There are major battles on a grand scale which are incredible. There's magic, there's sword fights. I can hear the background. There's sword fights, there's a lot of intrigue. But what it does so well, it can be a scene like they're in a market. It's cold, they haven't eaten for so long, they just arrived to the city. They're shivering, it's raining, and they just have enough money to buy a meat pie each. And the description of this meat pie of them biting into it, and it's warm, and it's steaming, and the sauce is dripping down their lip, and they're finishing it and they're licking the crumbs off their fingers and they want another one. It brings you into the world and makes you want to have a meat pie with them. It's so, what's the word? It transports you. It is my favourite series of all time. And that is one of my top suggestions. So Google that. The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan, with the first book being The Eye of the World. The next book, A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab or Schwab. I would say Schwab, but I'm not sure. Cal is one of the last travellers, magicians with a rare ability to travel between parallel universes connected by one magical city. There's Grey London, without magic and ruled by the Mad King George III. Red London, where magic is revered and where Cal was raised alongside the heir to the Empire. White London, where people fight to control the remaining magic and magic fights back. And once, there was Black London. What I like about this book is, as much as it's set in London, only one of the Londons is the current London. I don't really like books that are set in our world, because I want to be transported and I want to read for escapism purposes, and it's better when it's not Earth. But this transports you. I would say with this book, what I like about it is there's not too many geographical jumps, so you can get your head around the Londons very quickly and you can picture them. It's easy to read. Cal is a fun character. I think the other character, Lila or Delilah Bard, that gets introduced later is almost better than him. More likable in a way. She's a rogue and she's an adventurer and a rule breaker, a thief, a pirate. Maybe not a murderer, but she certainly knows how to fight. So I don't have much else to say about this, and that it's a good fantasy. It's an easy read.
Its Goodreads rating is 4.06. Give it a go.